All right, so this playlist is going to cover all of the material that is going to be on the first test, which is sections 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3 from the homework packet. And that test is going to be on Friday, October 9th. So if you're watching this the first week of classes, that's a week from Friday. Each playlist for this class I'm going to organize by test, and then there'll be a bunch of videos that are broken down into as bite-sized pieces as I can make them so that you can watch these a little bit at a time. I recommend after you watch each of these videos that you go ahead and try some of the homework problems from the packet before you go on and watch the next video. Because if you haven't tried the problems, you probably aren't going to be quite ready to grasp the stuff that's in the next video. So that's just my advice, what I think will be most helpful for you. These three sections, I'll go ahead and tell you, are going to be about algebra and solving algebraic equations with factoring in 1.1. 1.2 is going to be about fractions and solving equations involving fractions. And 1.3 is going to be about the rules of exponents. So these are all algebra review skills that will be very important to be able to have down pat to do the questions for the rest of the course. All right, so let's get started with 1.1. Okay. And again, this is going to be about solving algebraic equations. So a typical example will be something like solving 2x minus 1 minus 5 times x minus 4 equals 30. So the way we're going to solve this is first to simplify everything. So I'm going to need to distribute this 2 out. So that will give me 2x minus 2. Then I have to distribute this minus 5, so it'll be minus 5x. And now here's the piece that's going to come up most often. I'm distributing a minus 5 across a minus 4, so this is going to be a plus 20. And that is 30. Okay. This is something that is very, very easy to miss when you're doing one of these calculations, that you need to remember to distribute this minus sign across that piece as well. Be sure you understand that before you go on. Okay, so now we can collect things. So 2x minus 5x, that is minus 3x. Minus 2 plus 20, that'll be plus 18. That is equal to 30. I'll subtract the 18 over here, which will give me minus 3x equals 12. And then I'll divide both sides by minus 3, so that will give me x equals minus 4. Okay, and so that is the answer to solving this equation. Now, I want to emphasize what it is we just really did. That is, what question we solved. Namely, the question we solved was this one. I'm just copying the original question. Okay. And so this is really saying if 2 times x minus 1 minus 5 times x minus 4 is 30, what is x? And so we have said here, if this is true, then x is minus 4. And I want to point out that we can check that just by saying 2 times, and plug minus 4 in for x here. So it'll be minus 4 minus 1, minus 5 times minus 4 minus 4. And we can simplify this, so that'll be 2 times minus 5, so that'll be minus 10. And this will be minus 5 times minus 8, so that'll be plus 40. And lo and behold, that is 30. So that 30 and that 30 match. And so we've checked here that we've actually gotten the right answer. Any question that asks you to solve an equation, you can go back and check your answer at the end just like this. That is, by plugging in the answer you get to the original equation that you were trying to solve. That last example was a linear equation. A lot of the examples we'll be looking at today will be quadratics. So they'll boil down to things like x squared minus 6x plus 8 equals 0. And so the way we solve these is to factor. And so you're going to see factoring comes up as an important skill over and over and over again in this course. And so we're going to look for two numbers to put here and here. And the thing to remember is these two numbers have to multiply together to be plus 8. And they also have to add together to be minus 6. And so probably you've done this enough to see that the things I want are minus 2 and minus 4. And so I see that the way I factor this x squared minus 6x plus 8 is as x minus 2 times x minus 4. Okay. Now, why did we do that? Why did we even bother factoring it in the first place? The reason we factored it in the first place is because we have now this x minus 2 times x minus 4, and the product of these two things is equal to 0. And so this is all based around the magical property of 0, which is that if two things multiply together to be 0, there is only one way that could happen, which is for one of them to have been 0. And so I get to sort of split into two pieces here. Since the product of these two things is 0, either this is 0 or this is 0, and I can treat those pieces separately. And so what's really happened here is I've been able to split this original complicated question about x squared minus 6x plus 8 being equal to 0. I have split that into two simpler questions, one about x minus 2 being 0 and one about x minus 4 being 0. And that's how we solved this equation. Okay, there'll be lots of other quadratic equations for us to solve as well. So for example, we might try to solve something like x plus 1 times x minus 2 equals 4. And now there's a temptation here to do something that you should absolutely not do, which is to say, okay, well, I've got this factored, it's equal to 4. We could try and say, okay, so x plus 1 equals 4, and x minus 2 equals 4, and go on from there. But no, we cannot do this. And the reason why we can't do that is because 4 does not have this property that 0 had. There are lots of ways to multiply two numbers together to get 4 that do not involve either of the numbers being 4. For example, I could multiply 2 and 2 and get 4. So what do I have to do? I actually have to rewrite this whole equation into a quadratic that looks like the one we started with. So that is to say, before I can do anything, I really have to FOIL this out. So when I FOIL this out, I'm going to get x squared minus 2x plus x minus 2 equals 4. So that's going to be x squared minus x minus 6 equals 0. So here's the point. I've rewritten this original equation so that it looks like some quadratic equals 0. And so now this question looks an awful lot like our question up here. And so having done that, we can now go ahead and factor this x squared minus x minus 6. Okay. Namely, there's going to be x, and there'll be a plus or minus, and then two numbers that are going to go in these blanks. And these two numbers have to multiply together to be minus 6 and add together to be minus 1. So the numbers I want will be minus 3 and plus 2. Multiply together to be minus 6, add together to be minus 1, which is that one right there. Once I've got that, I can split back into two universes just like before. So the one where x minus 3 is 0, so x is 3. And the one where x plus 2 is 0, so x is minus 2. So these, minus 2 plus 3, those are the solutions to this equation. Again, I want to point out to wrap up this first video that I can go back and check that both of these are solutions by plugging them into the original equation. So for example, if I plug x equals 3 into this, I'll get 3 plus 1 times 3 minus 2. And what is that? That's 4 times 1, which is 4. And that works. And if I plug minus 2 into this original equation, I'll get minus 2 plus 1 times minus 2 minus 2. That's going to be minus 1 times minus 4. And that's also going to be 4. Okay. So again, we can check our answer here for this. All right, I'm going to wrap up this video here. That should again be plenty of examples for you to go and do the first few questions from the homework. So I recommend you go look at the homework, but I'll see you in the next video.